Today, we're digging into a really powerful blueprint that's totally changing the game in education. It's called Universal Design for Learning, or UDL for short. So let's get right into how this framework is making classrooms more inclusive for absolutely everyone.
I want you to think back to your own school days for a second. In any of your classes, did every single student learn at the exact same pace using the exact same methods? Yeah, I think we all know the answer to that is a big, resounding no way.
And that's really the heart of the problem, isn't it? The traditional one-size-fits-all classroom, where everyone reads the same chapter and takes the same test, well, it just doesn't work for a lot of kids. It inevitably leaves some students behind because it just doesn't respect the incredible diversity in how all of our brains are wired.
So what's the fix? Well, that's where Universal Design for Learning comes in. The official definition is pretty clear. It's a set of principles for curriculum that give all individuals equal opportunities to learn. The best way to think about it is like architecture. Instead of building a building and then adding a wheelchair ramp later as an afterthought, you design the building with ramps and elevators from the very beginning. UDL does the exact same thing, but for lesson plans. It's about building accessibility in from the start.
But here's the thing, the goal of UDL isn't just about access. It's actually way more ambitious than that. The ultimate aim is to create expert learners. We're talking about students who become purposeful, resourceful, and strategic in how they approach things. It's really about empowering them to take the driver's seat in their own education.
So how does it work? Well, UDL is built on 3 core principles, and each one tackles a really important question. First up is engagement. This is all about the why of learning. It asks, how do we get students excited and motivated? Then there's representation, which is the what of learning. This one's about presenting information in lots of different ways so it clicks for everyone. And finally, we have action and expression, the how of learning. This gives students different ways to show you what they've actually learned. These 3 pillars are the foundation for everything.
Okay, that all sounds great in theory, right? But how does a teacher actually put this into practice in a real classroom? Well, lucky for us, we've got a guide. We're going to follow a flowchart from Dr. Katie Novak that's basically a blueprint for designing a UDL lesson. So let's take a little journey, shall we?
Before we take that first step, there's a core philosophy you absolutely have to understand. UDL is all about firm goals, flexible means. What does that mean? It means the destination, what students need to learn, is set in stone. It's firm. But the paths they can take to get to that destination, those are super flexible. All right, here we are, our first checkpoint on the blueprint. We have to ask, is there a clear, standards-aligned goal for this lesson? This is the absolute non-negotiable starting point. Everybody, especially the students, needs to know exactly what the target is.
So, if the answer is yes, fantastic. You've got a clear destination for your journey. But if the answer is no, the blueprint tells you to hit pause. You're just not ready. Because without that firm goal, any choices you offer are kind of pointless. You have to have this first.
Okay, let's move on to the next checkpoint. Once that goal is crystal clear, do students have options for the methods and materials they'll use? Can they read a text, or maybe watch a video, or work with a group, or use some kind of digital tool?
And this is such a critical fork in the road. If the answer is yes, then learners have all these different pathways to get to that firm goal. But if the answer is no, the blueprint warns that you've just fallen right back into that one-size-fits-all trap, forcing everyone down the exact same narrow path.
Okay, so students have their goal and they have options to get there. But how do they know if they're actually on the right track? The next checkpoint asks a really important question. Are there lots of chances for students to check their own progress and reflect on it? See, this is the step that turns students into those strategic, resourceful learners we were talking about earlier. Without that regular self-reflection, the whole journey can feel kind of random. Students need those moments to ask themselves, how am I doing? Is this strategy working for me? This is how they really truly take ownership of their learning.
And here we are, at the final major checkpoint on our blueprint. The students have learned the material using all these flexible methods. So now the question is, can they choose how they're going to show you what they know? Is a written test the only way, or could they maybe make a presentation, or build a model, or even record a little video?
If the answer is yes, then every single learner, no matter what their strengths are, gets a fair shot to prove what they know. But if the answer is no, you risk losing them. Forcing a kid who's a brilliant public speaker to only write an essay, well, that might not be the best way to see what they've actually learned, right?
And if you've made it through all of those checkpoints, if you can say yes to all of them, Well, congratulations, you've done it. You've officially designed an inclusive, universally designed lesson. You've built an environment where every single student has a real opportunity to succeed.
But let's be really clear here. This whole journey, this whole blueprint, it's not just about offering choices for the sake of offering choices. No, it's a very deliberate process designed to do something pretty profound, to shift students from being passive listeners into being active, expert architects of their own learning.
So, are you feeling inspired but maybe a little overwhelmed about where to begin? Don't be. Here are 3 really simple, powerful tips to get you started. First, let students make choices. It keeps them invested. Second, try to provide materials in different formats: visual, audio, digital, you name it. And third, give them a choice in how they show you what they know. Seriously, even small changes like these can make a huge difference.
And that really brings us to our final thought. This whole blueprint is about intentionally designing for the fact that we're all different. It honors that every brain in a classroom is unique, so I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. What could learning, and honestly, our whole world, look like if every single lesson was built not on rigid rules, but on purposeful, flexible choice?